2,672 runs, 106 wickets, tons of verbal spats, and, well, brilliant competitive cricket throughout three test matches in Centurion, Johannesburg, and Cape Town. We finally know that the Gandhi Mandela Trophy at the home of Mr. Mandela, and it was quite the series. South Africa winning the final test in Cape Town on day 4 and wrapping it up 2-1 after going 1-1 down in the first test match. That was quite the comeback for them. And I have Abhishek Mukherjee joining me at Cricket News Live today to discuss the test and the series that went by. Myself, Rahul Pandey, and let's dig in, Abhishek. What a series that was. We needed this kind of a series. We needed this series to be this kind of series, of course, with a different ending, perhaps for Indian fans. But yeah, that was a series to remember, wasn't it?
Yes. Uh, what can I say? Fast bowling of the highest quality we saw from both sides.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, India were probably unfortunate to not get some edges. Some catches didn't carry, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
as expected,
Yeah,
fast
but
bowlers called the shots and they decided the
yeah.
test series.
Yeah. Yeah, and we saw on day 4 as well when Keegan Peterson was batting. I think it was his first 8 deliveries in the morning when he played 3 false shots, but none of them was a wicket for India. And those are the kind of things that make a difference ultimately when two closely competitive test sides with two great fast bowling attacks go up against each other, and that's what we saw. But well, it's a big win for South Africa by all means. They are
Of
now
course.
in top. They are now fourth in the World Test Championship and table. But that doesn't matter right now. What matters is what Team Elga said before the cycle began itself. He said that we would want to compete for those top 2 spots, and that's what it's all about. When you beat one of the finalists, it's a big thing.
They have one of the best fast bowling attacks in the world, and they have a very good spinner. What else do they need?
Yeah. The spin bowler maybe wasn't needed throughout the
See, what
series,
wasn't
but
needed there,
their
but
pace attack did the job.
trust
Yeah.
me, when they come to the, I don't know, I haven't checked their plan, but when if they come to Sri Lanka, Maharaj
Yeah.
will come in handy. He has a very good
Definitely.
record in Sri Lanka. He has a very good. He
Yeah.
failed in India, but he is a very good spinner, and has not done well against India, but he has done well against other sides.
Yeah.
He was not needed here because Indians play spin better than others, but he will be needed. And they have
Definitely.
the and they have a pace attack to match the best side in the world, and that's all you
Yeah.
need. Good fast bowlers and good spinners. That's all you need to make a good test side.
Yeah, yeah. Well, want to take a look at what Mark Boucher said after the press conference after the final test, and it was rightly the fact that many didn't give South Africa any chance in this series after that first day. India 272 for 3 at Centurion. KL Rahul had scored a century, and many thought that this would be the trend pretty much in the series. But they did manage to make a comeback, and it's tough to do so when it's a 3-test series. It's really tough to do so after losing 1-0 down against a team that has the resources in all positions as India do. And the Pacers, we talked about how Anrik Nortje could have made a difference before the series. That would have been a big blow. Quinton de Kock retired after that first test match. Everything was going against them, but then it showed that resolve and that grit which is required to beat one of the best in the format, isn't it?
Not resolve or great. They just had a backup fast bowler. Even in Notia's absence, they had fast bowlers. That's how they won the test match and series. And Rabada returned to form again. Fast bowlers.
Yeah,
It was all about fast bowling. That's
yeah,
all. That's all. The better fast bowling side, the team whose fast bowlers did bit better, won the series. That was
yeah.
all that happened.
Yeah, but even in terms of the middle order, India had, I do believe, players who weren't able to score as much as South Africa's middle order did contribute in the series, especially in
Yeah,
the second and the third test.
I think one person we are not talking about as much as Bavuma.
Yeah,
Bavuma, I think I was just checking. He batted 6 times and he was dismissed below 50 only once. So essentially, and that was also a 20 something. In the other
yeah,
innings, he either got a 50 or he remained not out.
yeah,
So that role also went unnoticed. Yes, I think Pujara, I'm not sure, but Rahane has probably reached the end of this run. I won't say end of his career, but this this phase of his career.
Yeah. Yeah, because the discussion has been going on since I think almost half past that England tour, post that Leeds test. That discussion had been going on, and
No,
now after this
it was
defeat,
they deserved a run in the home series, and it was very unlikely that they would be they would be dropped mid series in South Africa. That was very unlikely. That was not going to happen.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well, Virat Kohli said himself after the series in the press conference that it's something that you can't run away from now, and India
yeah,
will need to look at it now. That even though
I
we
mean,
have a home set of test matches coming,
I think they and this the home a home test series is the ideal spot to groom new youngsters.
yeah,
I think if it were me, Pujara, as I was just checking, Pujara actually has a job. Pujara, you can say that he often comes out to bat early. He has that extra responsibility to essentially see off the new ball. Uh, and that method has got him runs in Australia. Not only has got him runs in Australia, he has also helped to wear down the Australian bowling attack. But the same doesn't hold
yeah,
for Rahane. Rahane does not
yeah,
play that role. He bats at five.
yeah,
And batters who bat at 6 and 7, Pant and Jadeja, have actually in 2021 lasted more balls per dismissal than Rahane. Even more, Pujara batted for 79 balls per dismissal in 2021. For Pant, it was about no for yeah for Pant it was about 61. For Rahane, it was 45. So the difference between Pujara and Pant was virtually the
yeah,
difference between Pant and Rahane. So that was it was not it was unlike Pujara. Pujara was there at the crease. The runs were not coming because that is how he plays. But that
yeah,
is not applicable to Rahane. Rahane was
yeah.
not even lasting.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's been a disappointing series for him.
So,
There
yeah,
were,
let me put it
though,
this way: if one of them has to be dropped and not both, then I think Rahane is likelier to get dropped first.
yeah, yeah, yep, will be a call that Indian team management will have to make soon. But there were a couple of positives that Virat Kohli mentioned in the batting department itself. Of course, the 100 from KL Rahul was India's highest run scorer in the series, but post that 100, there wasn't a contribution from that opening pair as well going forward in the series. It was going to be tough for them. Rishabh Pant's 100 that came in that second innings was really something. Scored more than 50% of the runs for India in that particular innings when most of the batters were finding it difficult to get to double figures. I think only Virat Kohli and KL Rahul were the ones who got to double figures in that innings from India's side. So it's really something that has almost gotten people back to that Pant discussion of the way he plays. If you don't, and I think you tweeted something regarding that. If you weren't with him in Johannesburg, you don't deserve his Cape Town.
Yeah, I mean, he that's how he bats. You have to accept
Yeah,
it will come off at some point, and that some point is not. I mean, it happens quite frequently, and it happens overseas. I mean,
yeah,
see, he didn't do well in England, but even there, he got a very crucial 50. That was in Oval, right? And
yeah,
then before that, he did it in Sydney, he did it in Brisbane, and he did it here. So even if one I think he also got a 40 in the World Test Championship final
yeah.
in the second
In the
innings.
second innings, yeah, in the second
Yes.
innings.
So if we start with Sydney, we are taking Sydney, Brisbane, six and five Test matches in England, including the WTC final, and three here. So that's 10 Test matches, and in 10 Test matches, overseas Test matches, mind you, in difficult conditions,
Yeah,
he has got two famous fourth innings performances. This one and let us not forget the 32 at Centurion.
yeah. Yeah.
And then there were the two. There was Oval, and then there was the WTC final. So, how many batters in India have delivered so many, have produced so many key performances in such a short span of time over the same
And
period of time?
this when the middle order has failed quite a
Yes,
few
yes.
times.
Almost invariably, he comes out to bat after a collapse.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing, right? When it comes out in that sort of a situation and it doesn't pay off, it's noticed far more than it should be. But
See, if you block 30 balls and then you edge or miss the line of a ball and get bowled, you don't get
yeah.
criticized. But if you try to score quick runs and take risks and get out, you get criticized.
But that's a gamble the Indian team management is very
It's
much
not
willing
how,
to take.
how yes, and I think they are being able to take the gamble. I mean, they have or in they are being able to take the gamble because of Jadeja's batting, which was another factor here that was missing.
Yeah.
Ashwin did
Yeah.
not contribute with ball. Ashwin's performance with ball could have been replicated by Jadeja here, here in this series.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Jadeja, the batter, would have come in
Yeah.
handy.
Definitely. Especially since 2019 has been an important part of that batting order. And even if we talk about Pant, I mean, the only wicket-keeper batter, designated wicket-keeper batter who's hit a century in Australia, South Africa, and England, apart from him, is Adam Gilchrist. And
Yeah.
he played for Australia. That was his home country. That was his home ground where he did so. So it's
Let
really a
me
special achievement.
let me say this again. At Pant's age, Gilchrist got dropped from the New South Wales state side and had to move to Western Australia to make a career.
Yeah.
By that, at the
Gee,
same age, this is what Rishabh Pant's CV looks like. By
some
the time
series and then,
Gilchrist debuted in at around 30.
yeah.
By the time this is a prediction, I have made this before. I'm not sure whether on video. By the time Pant reaches that age, he will surpass Gilchrist's Test match tally.
Wow. That will be something to live with. That will be quite a thing to live with. And he can most certainly do so with the form he's been in. And even his wicket keeping. I mean, you saw those stops he was making of Shami and Bumrah's balls, the one that were really bouncing high from the
I'm not
surface.
sure. I'm not sure whom to credit for that, but whoever is responsible for this, I don't know, has done a phenomenal job with him. Maybe the
Definitely.
fielding coach, maybe the main coach, maybe the Dhiman Chaha. I don't know who it is, but he has done
Yeah,
a phenomenal job with Pant.
brilliant. Made me kind of think that's the fourth time Spider-Man casting has been 100% well, because as of now it's been going really good. So that's a good track record to keep. Let's talk about South Africa now in batting department. Of course, had a few issues as Captain Dean Elka said after that first Test match, but from the second and the third match, they've had a couple of good positives. You mentioned Temba Bavuma. Let's talk about Keegan Peterson. You did say, even when he was cheaply dismissed in that first innings of the first Test, that he is very much likable. And wasn't he likable for South Africa in this
Yeah,
Test
he
series?
is
Hit
very.
three half centuries.
I'm really surprised why his first class average is so low. It's 40 and 40 over 100 matches or something. So essentially, not 100 matches. I think 100 innings.
Yeah,
Anyway, it's a reasonably long career to draw a
yeah,
conclusion on, but I can't see why he doesn't. Why is here also he hasn't exactly got a big score. Maybe that is the problem. I mean, he is a very attractive batter. He
yeah,
uh, looks like someone in control. Always.
yeah,
As long as he's there, he looks in control. I mean, he has really impressed. The other person is Bahuma. He's a
yeah,
far better batter than what he used to be, say, even 3 years ago.
yeah,
I think between them, they are going to take care of South African batting. The one person I'm really frustrated with is Markram.
yeah. Had a dismal series.
I loved Markram. I'm watching Markram since the 2014 Under 19 World Cup. He seemed a special cricketer. I don't know what happened to him.
Yeah,
I mean, he is a better batter than this. And
Mohammad Shami, I think,
even if you
dismissed him
notice,
4 times
he
this series.
played some absolutely brilliant shots here. As long as he was there at the crease, he looked good. But then
Yeah.
he,
Yeah, I just didn't had one of those series to remember. But yeah, on those points, I think as far as the run scoring was concerned, South Africa did have a middle order, did have a couple of batters who did the job for them when it mattered the most. Talking about India's bowling, there were only two instances when they were not able to pick 10 wickets, and those were in the final innings of the previous and this final test match. Apart from that, Indian bowling, of course, delivered with those 10 wickets that they are most known for taking in this format. What were the shortcomings, if any, from your point of view, as far as the
yeah.
bowling department is
So
concerned?
I felt that India really missed Siraj. I won't say specifically Siraj in the second test match. I would say India missed the three out and out fast bowlers. That is something they need to deliver a win overseas. India's wins overseas over the past 3 4 years have been built around three out and out fast bowlers, not medium fast or fast medium, but
Yeah.
fast. So Shardul Thakur made up for that with a 7 wicket haul, but mm, Shami and Bumrah need an Ishant or an Umesh or a Siraj.
Yeah.
Anyone slower than that won't do it. Maybe in England, but not here. So that was, but that was a, what do you say, a forced replacement. That was nothing. That was not in India's control. In the uh, third Test match, I felt India could have gone in with Ishan because of his extra height. The South African fast bowlers used their height brilliantly.
Yeah.
See, once the new ball stops delivering, the fast bowlers, the tall fast bowlers, can use the variable bounce really well. We used to see that with Curtly Ambrose. Basically, if
Yeah.
your release point is really high and if you're a really quick bowler, then if you land the ball on a length, the batter is kept guessing. The ball may bounce to his face or it may keep low. So,
Yeah.
a bowler of a shorter height doesn't have that advantage. He has to
Yeah.
generate the height. And I think Ishant had that advantage naturally. Umesh doesn't have that advantage naturally. So I'm not saying Umesh is by default, Ishant is by default a better option, but probably on these pitches, Ishant was a better option. Maybe
Yeah.
maybe at home, Umesh is a better option, but here India really missed Ishant. That was that was probably one something India could have avoided. And the
Yeah.
other option is Ashwin. Could India have played five fast bowlers? Or could
Yeah.
India have played the extra batter, Vihari for Ashwin? Because I firmly believe in playing five bowlers. That is how India have won these matches. But that works only if your five bowlers are needed.
Yeah.
Are they creating an impact? Is Ashwin creating an impact? Is a finger spinner bowling with a kookaburra going to create an impact in South Africa? That is the question.
Yeah.
Because, see, you are not going to bowl inside the first 30 overs. Very unlikely. By that time, the seam of the kookaburra, unlike the seam of the Dukes or the SG, the seam of the kookaburra gets embedded, and uh, the finger spinner loses the bite. So this with a Dukes or an SG, it's entirely different with a Dukes ball or an SG ball. But I'm not sure about this in South Africa on these pitches. Now in Australia, Ashwin has figured out. We saw that last year and on the
Yeah.
previous
Yeah.
tour how to bowl.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
maybe Vihari could have been a better option. Not because Ashwin is not a top bowler, he's a world class bowler, the best spinner around, but because this pitch probably was not suited to him. And India have the luxury to choose from.
Most definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Talking about the other bowling attack, there were quite a few impressive streak of bowling spells from South Africa's point of view. Kagiso Rabada, as you said, returned after that first Test match, 20 wickets for him, the most in this Test series. But then again, there was an emerging star for South Africa, an emerging star for them in this series, Marco Jansen, picking up 19 wickets, the second most in the series. And boy, oh boy, didn't he impress? Bowled those spells regularly, picking up 4 wickets on instances when there were, of course, the likes of Lungisani Angidi as well available. Duane Olivier, of course, has the best strike rate of all the pacers who have picked up more than 50 wickets in this format. But then again, he was obviously going to be someone who didn't back off from a challenge, picked up those wickets on pretty important occasions as well. What do you have to say about these two particularly?
A left arm fast bowler is worth it, worth their money, and I
It's a
wish
treasure.
India had a left arm fast bowler. Honestly,
Yeah,
that is the only addition I want to this Indian attack.
yeah,
And as I said, Kohli has been trying for a left arm fast bowler, but there isn't
yeah.
anyone. Maybe in another 2 3 years.
Maybe. Who knows? Yep. So South Africa, of course, winning the series. But let's talk about something that happened on the penultimate day of this test match. Something that, of course, attracted a lot of eyes, a lot of views. There was this Dean Elgar wicket that Ravichandran Ashwin had picked according to Marais Erasmus as he raised his finger. But then he went for a DRS, which any good batter would do, and any important batter in the lineup would do. And then what we saw was that the ball was bouncing, let's say, pretty arguably unevenly. And that, of course, led to a lot of things that were said on the stump mic that particular day, led to a lot of discussions post that. Abhishek, what were your observations after that whole incident happened for the next 5 to 10 minutes and then for the next whole day?
First of all, regarding the DRS, I think it's a process error. If
Yeah.
see, it is a process, and every process has an error, and that's
There's human
basically.
involvement in the process, so there has to be an error at times.
And see, um, if out of 100, one decision will seem unlikely. One
Yeah.
decision may seem wrong, so that will happen. If sometimes it's 1 out of 100, sometimes it's 3 out of 100. I mean, the whole point is DRS has reduced human umpiring errors, and there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So as long as they work on the DRS, also the Hawkeye and other processes are ongoing. They keep
Okay.
improving on these, and so at some point, even these seeming errors won't happen. But what was said, I don't see the problem with that, because the ICC Code of Conduct 2.18 prevents cricketers from speaking against match officials, and nobody said anything against the match officials. So what was the problem?
I think
The
what was said was directed more towards the broadcasters at that point of view.
broadcasters and Hawkeye. So that
Yeah.
isn't covered. That is a perfectly legal thing to do, and which is why there was no punishment, because did
Yeah.
nothing wrong.
I think we discussed this post the second test match, but not in this capacity, that it perhaps is talked about more when a team has lost or is on the verge of losing a test match, in terms of the team not being more gentle in their approach when they are losing a game and not being more, more respectful of the things that are going against them.
See, they thought some things were unfair, and they lodged a non-violent protest. So you do that in a trophy named after Gandhi and Mandela. It was a
Why
fitting
would you
tribute.
do that? Why would you add it? Just when we thought we were about to finish this video without a one liner that will be noticed. Even when we are talking about something that has already been noticed, you will add another line onto it, which will be noticed in its own entirety. Wow, Shikda. Worthy of a snippet, isn't it? I think we have a company call tomorrow waiting for both of us if this gets noticed in the by the IMF. But nevertheless, I think all it did was add a little more spice in the last day's action, and that's what we saw. When two teams are competing with that sort of
But
intensity, we saw those verbal.
what I'll tell you what confused me. Kohli didn't mention the error.
Yeah,
Kohli didn't mention Hawkeye. What he said was something very different. He said
yeah,
that the broadcasters did not cover or try to cover what the South Africans did while fielding with the ball, and that is something
yeah,
we do not know about. It was an entirely different topic.
yeah,
We are associating that with the Elgar dismissal. We have no reason to actually. What Kohli said was completely different. Ashwin
yeah.
said something specific against Super Sport. Rahul made that 11 guys against one, 11 players against, no, one nation, entire nation against 11 players or something.
Yeah,
But that was a very vague statement. But what Kohli said was about something totally different. And we do not know what
yeah,
that is about. He probably means that South Africans were doing something while fielding, probably with the ball that the super sport cameras stayed away from. That was, and that was the closest. That was what I could figure out. Again, without
yeah,
evidence.
yeah.
So Kohli's
Yeah,
objection,
there were
I didn't.
alternate views. There were alternate views on social media as well that when South Africa were fielding, the stump mic's volume weren't as loud as when India were fielding. That was an alternate
So,
point of view that I saw on social media. So some
but
were perhaps saying that he was also suggesting that you know the representation in those terms are also different.
that's
Maybe
okay.
those are just
But
views
that's
on
okay.
social media.
Until that point, there was nothing said about what the Indians said on stump microphone.
Yeah,
Maybe a random comments from Rishabh Pant, but it's okay. That happens
yeah.
every series. But
Or perhaps
until
that
then,
Kohli comment to Dean Elgar that I've been chirping since the last
that,
14 years. Do
that's
you think you're
that's
going to stop me?
very basic sledging.
Those are the kind
Very
of
basic.
one-liners we need as far as audio transcripts of these games are considered, and then we can
But
make a
that
bestseller
but
novel out of it.
it couldn't have been because of that, because that
Yeah.
sentence did not cause anything, did not lead to anything. Also,
Yep.
there are some suggestions that it might have been about sandpaper gate. Again, that makes no sense. Why would Kohli suddenly become so? I mean, what is this Hindi Aussie vibe? There's no.
They're pretty happy with that in Australia, by the way. Let me tell
Also,
you, a lot of people were happy by that statement in Australia.
no,
They perceived it to be about
why would
sandpaper.
Kohli suddenly start defending Aussie?
Yeah, I mean,
And
just a,
also, some have mentioned the Tendulkar ball tampering allegations, etc. Why would Kohli suddenly bring it up? This doesn't make
yeah,
sense. Something must have happened during this series that we do not know about.
yeah. Seems like ये राज भी series के साथ ही चला जाएगा. That's what we can
or
say
maybe
about it.
or maybe there will be a press release or something, some sort of interview or a social media post once they return from South Africa. That is also
Okay.
possible.
Perhaps an ammunition for the next time South Africa tour India. Perhaps. Who knows?
They don't need ammunition in India.
No,
India
it's
will
not
get
about
more
the
than
players. It's about it's not about the players, of course. It's about people who talk about these things on social media.
they'll forget. Nobody remembers anything.
Yeah.
And South Africa will be whitewashed in India. There's no doubt about that.
Whoa, we've already went into prediction mode for the next series.
Dude,
Let's just
they'll prepare turning tracks and have Ashwin Jadeja and Akshar
that'll
Patel.
surely be done. That'll surely be done. Yeah.
That would have been done anyway. We saw what happened in the South Africa's last tour. Not only were they whitewashed, they were nowhere close to even drawing a test.
Yeah. Well, on that count, nice bit of question to finish this whole discussion. How do you see South Africa as a team moving forward from this when they, of course, have had the best morale booster concerned as far as this World Test Championship cycle is to be talked about? Where do you see them going from this win now?
South Africa has a difficult scheduling. I think they will be playing in Australia. That is going to be tough. But then again, South Africa have a very good record in Australia.
Yeah.
So I think that is going to be their biggest hurdle when it comes to a spot in the final.
Yeah.
And mind you, Pakistan are having a very probably the easiest schedule. So
I think
they're
they play
over
England, Australia, and New Zealand at home. All
all
three
at
of
home,
them.
all at home.
Yeah.
They play all the difficult series at home, and they have played Bangladesh and West Indies overseas. So they
Yeah.
have the easiest schedule of all. Pakistan are the likely one of the likelier contenders for the final. The
Yeah.
India at this point looks at I mean is at the middle of the table, but
Fifth and sixth, India and New Zealand. Yeah.
India's difficult tours are done.
Yeah. They have one
Now
test
India
remaining
will
in England. They
yeah,
have
but
West Indies. They have Sri Lanka and Australia at home.
now they have the home
Yeah.
test series, and they'll keep
Sri
jumping
Lanka,
up and down.
Australia at home, and then Bangladesh is away,
Sri Lanka
but
are sitting
which won't
comfortably at
be
the
an
top.
away series. Yeah.
Sri Lanka is sitting comfortably at the top, but once they tour India, India will rise and Sri Lanka will come. I mean, India's rank will rise up the India will
We've
rise up the
seen
table, but
tables changing frequently over the course of 2 years. We've seen that. Even in the last, four test series, we saw huge
it will
turnaround
happen
as far as
because
top four were concerned. Yeah.
it will happen in IPL. It happens every day because they are not test matches; they're 3 hour matches.
Yeah.
Here we have to wait for 5 days. We have to wait for entire series for the tables to change. But
It's
tables
what the
change.
longest sports tournament in the world?
Longest it's difficult to explain this because yeah, it goes on
Team
for two
events.
years.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
team events. Yeah, perhaps.
you
But
can say
yeah,
that, right?
we have said that. There's no taking it back now.
I mean, see, technically the World Cup cricket, the 50 over World Cup cricket. So
Yeah.
that also involves qualifications.
Yeah, those are
So I
different
mean,
things. The
yeah,
qualifiers are
I mean,
different,
it's
right?
difficult to say. It's difficult to say. Yeah,
The FIFA World Cup
yeah,
qualifiers begin 3 years before the tournament. Yeah, but
yeah.
that's different.
So it's a
Yeah.
3 year tournament.
All right. Well, that was it as far as cricket news's Test series coverage was concerned. South Africa have been crowned as the winners in this. Now we have a three-match ODI series waiting for us from the 19th of January, and we will be here to talk about that as well. Thank you so much, Abhishek Mukherjee. It has been a pleasure talking cricket to you as usual. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us. And until next time, stay tuned to Cricket News.